Hello, hello, Francis. Francis. It's Derek. Derek Francis.
Hello, hello.
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 مش عارفة ايش فيها كفي.
Okay, I think we probably need to mute everybody at this stage.
Hi, Branwen.
Hyundai, hey.
Branwen from Wales.
I've muted everybody at this stage because I think we've got so far 57 participants and it's getting a wonderful cacophony. But if the co-hosts would just, if you would please unmute yourselves right away, please, all the co-hosts. So wherever you may be, it's a bit difficult to see everybody across all the screens. That's Claire and Philip and Dana and Jenny and Fliss and Jack and Munter, please, if you and would be and just maybe possibly the some of the folks that were on the trip, if you wanted to do that too, for now, but later on you will mute yourselves again, please. Right.
So we're probably now in the equivalent of going through passport control and customs, are we, Kevin? About to take off?
Yes, exactly. We're going through customs control right now. Yes.
It was at this point that Claire and I actually introduced ourselves to each other, and she told me that I didn't have to be too frightened of flying.
That was successful then.
Even though I was totally petrified.
I hope I was pastorally sensitive, Jenny.
Oh dear.
You didn't show it, Jenny.
Oh, no, I didn't show it to anybody, did I? I didn't tell anybody how frightened I was not. I think even the pilot knew, because it was when the air hostess, I asked her what was this at my feet, and she went, "Oh, it's a life jacket, love. Oh, don't worry, at least you know you've got one." And she went, "Oh no, you don't like flying, do you?" So it was at this point, I think my palms were sweating and I was feeling very anxious. So let's hope the flight tonight is going to be easier.
Well, the amazing thing is the trip was so good and was so inspiring that you flew home much easier than you'd flown out because you were so buoyed up by everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It just doesn't seem that it was a year ago, though, does it? I don't know about anyone else, but a year.
That's we're getting a great shot of Munter's background over there. That's really lovely.
It's the Muslim evening prayer.
Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Well, there are multiple mosques around us, so you're gonna hear it loud. And in 2 minutes, our church bells will ring every night at 8 o'clock. So that should make a nice sound between the mosque call to prayer and the church bells.
Folks, we're going to start with the church bells, but we've quickly got something to share with you. Can I ask except for Lawrence, can I ask all the co-hosts just to mute yourselves for a second, Munter in particular, because of that the call to worship. If you would do that, and then we're just quickly going to show you something. So I'm handing over to Claire.
Yeah, I don't have the video. I think Lawrence does. Do you, Lawrence? Here we go.
I do. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Dan Morell and I'll be your captain on today's flight URC 777 from here at London Heathrow to Tel Aviv. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for choosing to travel with URC Airways today, the only tour operator across the world to have fossil-free aeroplanes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we've just begun our descent into Ben Gurion International Airport in Tel Aviv. Temperature in Tel Aviv currently a nice sunny 28 degrees with a light breeze from the east. You'll see that we've now turned on the fasten seatbelt sign, so if you could strap yourselves in and put away any electronic devices and prepare for a hopefully nice gentle landing I am trained for this, so hopefully we'll be okay. I see that we have on board a tour group from Commitment for Life at the United Reformed Church. I'd like to take this opportunity to give you a special welcome and best wishes for your virtual pilgrimage to Bethlehem. Although I would like to encourage you please to resist the occupation along with your fellow Palestinian Christians.
Well, good evening, everyone. Don't worry if you're just joining us and think you might have missed anything. We have just touched down in Tel Aviv, and welcome. Can you all see me? Is it just me who's just got Lawrence on the screen? Are we all right? Okay. Welcome to tonight's whistle stop tour to Bethlehem. My name is Claire Nutbrown Hughes, and I'm going to be your tour leader this evening. I am in this position because a year ago I was in Jerusalem, exactly a year ago today, as a representative of the URC with representatives from other synods across Britain. We were on an educational visit to Israel and the West Bank, which you may have heard about. And really, it was the most incredible privilege. We had a remarkable time, and it's taken us all on a journey which continues. It certainly continued and continues to continue much longer since we touched back down at Luton Airport. And this evening, what we really wanted to do was pass on some of those blessings. We're going to take you on a URC bus, and we're going to share some of the experiences that we had. I want to thank you for travelling with us. It is our inaugural trip. There may be the odd bump in the road, but what we hope will happen is that over the next hour and a half, through a mixture of live and recorded clips, you will be able to travel with us on a journey of discovery through the streets of Bethlehem. Now, our pilgrimage this evening came together out of a number of trains of thought. And one was that on our trip last year, we were time and time again encouraged to come home and ask people to go and see, to go and talk to people in Palestine, to meet them, to get to know them. And of course, this year with COVID, that hasn't been possible. We haven't been able to travel in the usual way. And many people, clearly for other reasons, cannot travel. And so given how important travel is to widen our perspectives as well as our horizons, we thought that what would be wonderful to try and do would be to open up this new low carbon, easy access opportunity to visit the place where Jesus was born. Now, as part of that, what we wanted to do very much was to present the West Bank in a more three-dimensional way to the way we perhaps ordinarily hear of it. We hear lots of reports of violence, of suffering, and of division. But while we were there, we also experienced openness and warmth and hospitality and kindness. And fantastic food, I have to say. And tonight's programme has an intentional light touch to help bring out that other aspect of life in Palestine. We will have a chance this evening to learn a little Arabic, to see a Palestinian meal being prepared, and as well, hopefully if the technology stays with us, we will be talking with Jack and Munta, if you've already seen them on the call. Now, it's a year since our group was in Israel and the West Bank, and at this point, Israel finds itself in a second lockdown, a lockdown which falls between the Jewish New Year and the holiest day of the year in the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And the days in between the two are a time for reflection, for saying sorry, for moving towards reconciliation and mutual understanding, and towards a fresh start. And it struck me how that journey is like a pilgrimage. And when I looked for the definition of a pilgrimage, I found this. A Christian pilgrimage is a journey, often into an unknown or foreign place, where a person goes in search of new or expanded meaning about their self, about others, about nature, and about God through that experience. And so it feels timely right now to have a digital pilgrimage to this part of the world, which so needs deep listening and reconciliation and new beginnings. And it's a chance for us too to explore our own sense of connection with that place where Jesus was born, the place and the people, and to look at our perspectives. And one final motivating factor behind this evening, it came from news that we heard in the summer, and that was about how the sudden disappearance of pilgrims to Bethlehem because of the COVID movement restrictions had severely impacted, as you'd imagine, on the tourism industry. And it had left many people in the churches in the city really struggling to keep a roof over their heads, to support their families, because their livelihoods are reliant on pilgrims. And it made us wonder. It made us think, if we staged a virtual pilgrimage, would people perhaps be moved to give some of their money that perhaps would be in a holiday fund ordinarily that they hadn't been able to spend this year, and give towards supporting people in the West Bank? If you'd like to donate, there will be some fundraising details given later, but there is absolutely no expectation of you donating. What we want to happen this evening is that you enjoy yourself. And actually, as we speak, our bus is pulling up outside the Christmas church, where Munter and Philip are going to introduce us to life there.
Thank you, Claire. We're delighted we've got Munter Isaac with us tonight, who is the minister at the Christmas Lutheran Church there in Bethlehem Square. Munter's only got a very short time with us because he's got an urgent appointment in just over 10 minutes. So I'm going to pass straight over to Munter and just to ask him to describe, first of all, where are you at the moment, Munter?
So good evening, friends. This is certainly my first digital tour. First time I host a tour in a digital way. I host a pilgrims group. First time we host a group in the age of Corona, and I have the mask, which is seems to be the word of the day. We're urging everyone here in Bethlehem to wear masks because of a surge in COVID-19 cases. We are now at one of the heart or central places in Bethlehem called Al Madbasa. It's 8 p.m. in the night right now, so everything is closed, but this is usually one of the most busy roads in Bethlehem. We have the market here, we have many people who sell things in the street, so this is really one of the busiest streets, and as I'm going to shift cameras right now, you will realize that our church is really at the heart of Bethlehem, at the heart of the if you may, western entrance of the city of Bethlehem. We are literally 5 minutes away from the Church of the Nativity, where it all started. And what I'm gonna do right now is walk you inside of our church, and let's do the whole thing the right way. Please mind your, it's a long stair up. Those who came here will remember. You have to go up. We are on an upper level. What's really interesting about this church, it was built in the 1890s, so built by German missionaries back then. And when it was built, according to the records, it was built at the outskirts of Bethlehem in a far remote place where only wolves walk, because nobody wanted to give the German Western missionaries a place to build. And ironically, we are now at the heart of the city because Bethlehem, of course, expanded. And those who come today will know that Bethlehem is a very crowded place because of, first, there is the natural expansion, but sadly, there is a separation wall, an ugly concrete wall that besieges us and really makes us feel like we are in a big prison. But the most serious effect of that wall is that we cannot expand naturally as a city, and now everybody has to be crammed up in the center of the city. So welcome to the Christmas Lutheran Church. As I said, this is our church built in the 1890s, in the span of 1887 to 1893 by German missionaries, but Bethlehem builders. I wish this was daylight so you could see the beautiful windows. Sadly, you will not be able to see the glass windows because of the light that needs to come from outside in. But these stained windows are very well known, very unique, and they were actually manufactured in Germany. Same with the organ, and then shipped to Jaffa, where there was a nice port. And then from Jaffa, they were brought on donkeys into Bethlehem, and they made this church. Today, this church is the worshiping place of the evangelical Lutheran community here in Bethlehem. It was a while ago that Palestinians took over the ministry here. After the Second World War, in particular, German missionaries had to leave, and Palestinians continued the work and the ministry. There was one of the mostly important schools here in Bethlehem, the Lutheran school, was here on this campus, but now shifted to another location. In our campus, we have the International Cultural Center, Dar al-Nadwa, that hosts many cultural events, and also a pilgrimage house. Today, as a Lutheran community here, we are almost 160 members, around 40 households. Overall number of Christians in Bethlehem, or the percentage of Christians in the Bethlehem Governorate, make around 35%. Of course, we live among a majority of Muslims. We coexist well and ruled by the Palestinian Authority, but the ultimate ruler is the Israeli occupation that surrounds us, that comes in and out to arrest people. We have the Israeli colonies around us everywhere. This seems sadly the future, where Palestinians will be locked inside communities, gated communities, I call them, with one gate in, one gate out, and the road that connects us between one area to the other. And Israel, of course, controls that road. The number of Palestinian Christians, as I said, in Bethlehem is around 30%, but overall in the West Bank and East Jerusalem and Gaza, we are less than 1%. So the number that's in decline because of the quality of life, the occupation, the economical struggles, and so many other challenges that cause people to go and seek a better life elsewhere. Our church, as I said, has about 160 members. We are part of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Jordan and the Holy Land. We have 5 congregations in Palestine and 1 in Jordan. We are only two Protestant churches in Palestine, alongside the Anglican or Episcopalian Church in the Holy Land. The Anglican, of course, with strong ties to Canterbury. The majority of Christians here, as you might know, are the Orthodox Christians, the oldest church here. And we have also a very big number of Catholics. And when I say Catholics or Orthodox, there are also branches. So we have Syrian Catholics, we have Syrian Orthodox, we have Armenians and Copts. But the majority of Christians really are either Orthodox or Catholics, and a small minority, as I said, of Protestants. As Protestants here, despite our numbers, we are known for our activities, influence. Every church is connected to a school. We have, from this small church that you have, the Christmas Lutheran Church, started a cultural center that shifted into a training center and then a university college, and right now in the process of becoming a university that's specialized in arts and culture, founded by my predecessor, Reverend Mitri Rahib. And I have been pastoring this church since 2017. So yes, numbers are small, even though we are not a minority, because we're like everyone else, we're Palestinians. We don't view ourselves really as a minority, but in terms of faith-wise, yes, numbers are small, not only as Christians, but as Protestants. But what we always emphasize is that it's not about the numbers, but it's about the witness. It's about the testimony. It's about being alive, being active, and continuing the ministry of Jesus Christ in this land. It's here where everything started. Literally 3 minutes walking from here, where Jesus was born, where God became man. In the day of virtual meetings and miracles and me going to the UK and backwards within seconds in a camera, let us remember that it's here where the greatest miracle of all happened, when God became man and dwelt among us. That is our source of encouragement. That's our source of comfort. And just, a quick word. Bethlehem right now is, like everyone else, going through the struggle of COVID-19. We have an increased number of cases, even within my family. My two sisters and my brother have caught COVID-19, and it's a miracle that I haven't caught it, crossing my fingers. But we're well, everyone is well. But the biggest impact is, of course, on economics and the lack of tourism, and the double impact of that. It's not just that tourism stopped, but tourism has so many things tied to it: the hotels, the restaurants, the souvenir shops, even the normal shops in the streets. And sadly, what we're seeing now is also many Christian organizations struggling to survive, because a big portion of their income depended on pilgrims coming, or their guest houses and so on. So we have many people, some organizations that were forced to pay 60% of salaries, 50%, and so on. Some organizations had to lay over some employees, sadly Christian organizations, because it's hard to survive these days without tourism. This just shows you the vulnerability of our community, a community that lives under occupation, and that doesn't have a safe blanket. And that's when the role of churches becomes really so important, not just, of course, through preaching, through encouragement, through visit. Despite the lockdown, I've been so busy calling people, visiting people with the mask on, of course. But of course, also many people were able to support many families who lost their only source of income. So thank you for doing this. This is a first. Since March, we haven't had this, so brilliant idea. I commend you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your tour. And I'm open if you have questions right now. Maybe I have, my doctor appointment was delayed for some time, so maybe I have 10 minutes if you have some questions.
Well, I wonder, Monty, if we should let you go, because that's been just wonderful to hear the call to worship and to see where you worship and to be back in Bethlehem. An absolute joy, and our prayers are with you for good health and your continued ministry. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Can we all give a wave to Monta as he heads off? Thank you, Monta. Bye.
Thank you again, Monta. And all the very best. Our prayers are with you.
God bless.
Bless.
God bless.
And so we're going to drive very quickly to the Shepherd's Field just outside Bethlehem, where Lawrence is going to lead us in prayer. Obviously, all pilgrims need to have a prayerful element, and Lawrence will also give us a brief reflection on scripture before he welcomes our next guest from Bethlehem, Jack Jackman.
So let's pray.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Jack, we're good, thanks. I'll come to you in a moment, if I may. We're just going to open in prayer and have a couple of moments of reflecting on the angel's message to the shepherds. So let us pray. God, you came among us in Jesus in this place where we gather this evening. We pray that our time together here might be a pilgrimage. By your Spirit, may we meet Jesus again. May we commit ourselves afresh to following him, to sharing in his mission, to see him more clearly, to love him more dearly, and follow him more nearly day by day. Amen. We're going to Beit Sahur. It's just outside Bethlehem. It's traditionally where the shepherds were, the shepherds abiding in the fields, keeping watch over their flocks by night. And this is the site, which is where we had a Bible study and read the passage in Luke's Gospel of the appearance of the angels to the shepherds. And you know, being in the place changes how you experience Christmas and how we read the Bible. For a start, our traditional pictures of the stable, that's what the stable looked like. It wasn't a wooden hut, it was a cave. Now that cave is one of the shepherds' caves at Beit Sohor, but houses are also built on the caves, and those caves will become cellars, which are where they keep all the animals. So Jesus would have been born in a cave underneath the inn, amongst the innkeeper's animals. But the second thing that it does is that we read those texts in Bethlehem, which is surrounded by the wall. That's the wall, and it encircles Bethlehem entirely, as Munter was reminding us. And the point is that those shepherds who gathered were the victims of the Roman Empire at the time. They lived on the margins, and it was to them that the good news came. And it wasn't good news that one day we'll die and go to heaven. It was one day, it is today that God is coming among us. God has come among us in Jesus, in Bethlehem, and is starting a story of redemption and liberation that is going to transform the world. And it's a story that is told as good news against the bad news of life under Roman occupation, under the occupation of empire. Do you remember the words of the shepherd, the words of the angels to the shepherd? I bring you good news of great joy, which shall be to all people. It's for all people, the whole world, not just the beneficiaries of the Roman Empire. This was an angelic announcement, but it was shaped exactly as though it was the Roman Empire making an imperial announcement. And the angels go on, to you is born this day in the city of David a savior who is Christ the Lord. Now there's something interesting going on there, isn't there? It's the city of David, Bethlehem, which was where David was born. But if you lived in Jesus's time, and somebody said the city of David, you'd have assumed it was Jerusalem, the capital, the empire, the heart of empire, the beating heart of the economic and religious and political power that's going on there. God's doing something in Jesus that's on the margins. It's about David, who was a shepherd, not just a warrior, but a shepherd. And Jesus is the shepherd who comes to shepherd the people, and not to fight the battles, but to bring a different kind of order and world order. And then lastly, Jesus is portrayed in Luke's gospel by the angels as the Prince of Peace. He is declared to be a savior and a Lord. And those were the very titles that the Emperor Augustus was given. And so the angelic message is something that speaks straight to the heart of people who are living under occupation and under empire. This world is not the way it's meant to be. But actually, God has come among us so that God's purposes for life will be fulfilled throughout the whole world. And so Bethlehem is the place to which we come tonight. And it's the place that holds a special place in the heart of Christians all over the world. And this evening we come to Jack's shop, Jack Jackaman, and we'll meet Jack and Joyce in Manger Square, where Jack has a shop that specializes in olive wood carvings. Jack, great to see you. Jack, can you?
I can hear you. You can hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Yeah. This is my workshop. My family is one of the families who do wood carving for many generations. My mother is a family who came converted to Christianity in the 3rd century. They converted in the 3rd century. They converted in the 3rd century to Christianity. They were just shepherds around the church of the Nativity in the Judea desert. My father's side, they came in the Crusaders period as stone builders, and they start to do carving, especially seashells. And everybody know what is the seashells. This is what my grandfather and his father used to carve, seashell. Now, today, my family, we moved to carve olive wood. As a Christian family came in the Crusaders period, they show things that belongs to the Nativity. You know, here a Nativity set where the three wise men, the shepherds, the angel, Joseph and Mary, and Jesus was born in a cave. This is the main carving of the family today. Bethlehem depends on tourists, and this is what is bad. 80% of the people depend on the business of wood carvings, hotels, restaurants, everything for serving tourists. And now they are suffering of very bad economic situation because of the shortage of tourists.
Gosh, and Jack, can you tell us something? Your family's had this long relationship with the olive trees. Can you say something about what part the olive tree plays in Palestinian life?
You know, the olive tree is like my grandfather period is one of the important things. You know, they get olive oil, they get the fruits. And my family used to have hundreds and thousands of olive trees that we used to produce a lot of olive oil, and we used to sell olive oil. Unfortunately, after building the wall, the concrete wall and the fence around Bethlehem, the family lost 85% of the land. And like this today, me, for example, I know what picking olive. My daughter, which is the second generation after me, they don't know what meaning of picking olive because the family lost all the farming land that we have. And it's a big disaster. So Bethlehem now, we can use Palestinian only 30% of our land. Most of the land has been confiscated for building settlements and the wall.
So you as a family, as a result of the wall being built, have lost 85% of your lands, Jack?
And all the farming land.
And can you give us some idea? I mean, to lose land, what sort of value of land have you lost?
Look, for example, like my family, we have a land between Bethlehem and Jerusalem, which is like 1 kilometer away from where we are. The Israelis took all the land. They kept for us only 3,000 meters square out of 50,000 meters. Now, the 3,000 meters that they left to us here, they cost $500,000 US. It's a big money. So the family lost hundreds of millions of dollars of lands. Because when I say my family, I don't say only me. I have about 65 cousins, near cousins, from the third and fourth generation. So our family, we are about 1,200 persons. And those who left the country in South America and Chile, they are over 25,000.
So what has happened to the land, the 85% of the land that you've lost?
You know, unfortunately, what they do, they build settlements, and we don't have access to these lands. And any person, if he is Jewish and he is living in New Zealand, Australia, he can buy it on internet. And we, the owners, we cannot visit even or just walk in between these settlements or between our old trees that has been stolen. And it is private properties. It's not governmental land. It's land that we have documents from the Jordan period, from the British Mandate, from the Ottoman Empire. We have documents that prove that this is the family land who lived here hundreds of years and they own the land and this belongs to them and just they lost it.
So you're saying that the way it works, if I were Jewish here living in England, I could actually buy your family land on the internet?
Yes, you can buy an apartment over our land for if you like, you can buy it for 300,000 shekels, like 100,000 pounds. You can buy an apartment while I'm the owner of the land. I cannot even, if I pay $20 million, I can't buy 1 meter from my family land.
Gosh. And Jack, we're coming up to Christmas, and presumably now you've got coronavirus kicking in, and you're not able to sell your olive wood, or how is it for you?
To tell you the truth, we lost a lot. Like this year is very horrible year. I have about 11 carvers. I can't employ them more than 1 to 2 days a week. We cannot sell our products, especially, you know, in like we were under closure completely. Now a little bit we can do some export, that is very slowly. And in this time we used to be very, very busy, you know, preparing for Christmas, making a lot of hundreds of nativity sets. Now I have a lot in stock, and we have nobody in the street, you know, nobody in Bethlehem, no tourists, nobody. And we are living in a community mostly Muslims. They are not interested to buy a nativity set. There is about 2 million Muslims living in the West Bank, but they are not interested to buy the nativity scenes.
Yes.
So we have 0 customers.
Well, Jack, one of the things that we're going to do is to tell people here in our pilgrimage how they can buy something from your shop as Christmas is approaching. We're going to leave you now while you walk down to Manger Square, and we will catch up with you in about 5 minutes' time, and we'll see you then. And hopefully, Joyce, will you be there as well?
Yes, Joyce will be with us, and Father Rami, the parish priest of the Catholic Church, will be with us.
Right, so we'll see Jack and Father Rami in 5 minutes. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you so much. Now, as Jack makes his way on foot down to Manger Square and to the Church of the Nativity, we're going to turn to our trip's linguist, Diana, who's going to teach us how to order a coffee in Arabic.
Okay, everyone, I know we're all URC and we like our cups of coffee and our tea, so we're going to go and get a cup of Arabic coffee. I have just put into the chat some vocabulary so you can read it at the same time. And the first thing we're going to learn is how to say hello. So Arabic, there are about 5 or 6 different ways of saying hello. All of them have different responses, so we're just going to learn one today. So first thing that I will say is Is-salam alaikum, and that means may peace be upon you. Is-salam alaikum.
Is-salam alaikum.
Useful. Now, if someone says that to you, you reply to them, wa alaikum is salam, and upon you be peace. So I say to you, Is-salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum
is-salam. Brilliant. So we've gone into our coffee shop and we're going to get a cup of Arabic coffee. Now, Arabic coffee is served in tiny little cups, much smaller than the big mugs of tea that we have here. And the coffee is very strong. It's often flavoured with cardamom. So we're going to order just one because, as I say, it's very strong. You'll all be shooting around the house if you have too much. So the word I want or I'd like is bidi. And then the number 1 is wahid. And the word for coffee is awa. So when we put it together, we get bidi wahid awa. Try it. Bidi wahid awa. Lovely. Now, as I said, it's very strong. So some people prefer to have it with some sugar. I've certainly got quite a sweet tooth, so I put lots of sugar in mine. So if you want it with sugar, we say bisuka. If you want it as it is, you say bidun suka. So bisuka, bidun suka. Lovely. So put it all together. I want 1 coffee with or without sugar. Bidi
wahid ahwa bidun suka.
Brilliant. And now we've had our coffee, I hope you all enjoyed it. We're obviously going to say thank you. So shukran.
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 And that is one of the words that all of us learnt on the trip because our bus driver taught us that word. And we were so happy that we'd learned it. Every time we got on and off the bus, we would go, shukran, shukran. Now, we've had our coffee. I'm afraid it's time to say goodbye to the coffee shop. So again, there's about 5 or 6 different versions. We're going to say good evening, as it's about 8:30 in Bethlehem. So I say to you, Masa il khair. Masa il khair.
Masa il khair.
And that literally means good evening. The response, I think, is beautiful. It's Masa nur, which literally means evening light. So it kind of means, may your evening be full of light. So I say to you, Masa il khair.
Masa nur.
Brilliant. Masa il khair, everyone.
Masa inor.
Masa nur.
And Diana. Now we are going to join Jack again, this time in Manger Square, where Lawrence will speak with him and Joyce again.
Right, let's see if we can catch up with Jack. Jack, are you there?
He's coming. I'm currently with Father Rami.
With Father Rami. Can we spotlight the video, please, Kevin?
If I can find it, let me just find it, please. There we go. Right, got it. There we go. Fixed up.
And there we are. Father Rami, hello. Joyce, hello. Good to see you. Now we're in Manger Square. Joyce, what's happening for you at the moment with school and with the COVID crisis?
I currently go to school 3 times a week.
You're going to
for 5 hours.
Right. And the rest of the time, the rest of the time, are you learning from home?
Yes, 2 days. We go 3 days a week, and when we're at home, we take online school.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll be thinking of you as you go to school. Father Rami, can I come to you, please? Good to meet you. Thank you very much. You're the parish priest at St. Catherine's, is that right?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us, will you tell us something about the church? Because we'd like to hear about it.
What exactly about the church? You want to know about the Christian? How is the situation?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, this land always passed difficult times because the Intifada. You can imagine in the 1948, the Christian was in Bethlehem governorate about like 90%. Now they are 11%. And now with this COVID-19, whereas all this city relying on tourism, so this is community became in more difficult situation, no work, all this bad circumstances around them. So I'm afraid that if this finish, many they are saying they will leave. Anyway, we have a nice community here. Even we are a small number, like 1,570 family Christian, Latin Christian, but the Christian is around 11% from the population, is around 26,000. Between 200,000 to 20 from the population, and we have many activities, but now with the COVID-19 everything is stopped. We are only taking care about the people
We're losing
the masses. No, still the masses. We have Sunday 3 masses. We pushing things. Yeah, that's happened because they are afraid. But baptism and even marriages in simple way and in fast way with limited number.
Father Rami,
This is what's happened, but all.
Can I just ask you? Did you say, now you're the Catholic priest there? Did you say that your church has got 1,500 Christian families? Is that right?
Yes, 570 families, but only Latin. But the number of Christian in Bethlehem, or in all the governorate of Bethlehem, is 26,000. We have still Beit Jala, we have still Beit Sahur, whereas the Orthodox and other churches around us.
Yes.
So, but with Latin Church, we are considered after Nazareth the second between the second biggest parish after in Syria, in Jordan, in Lebanon, and here after Nazareth for Latin churches, not for Melkite, not for Orthodox, because they are more than.
Can I ask you what does it feel like to be the priest in the church where Jesus was born? When you go to celebrate Mass every Sunday, does it feel very special to you because this is the church where Jesus was born?
I feel honored, blessed so much. I always proud to go between the other priests. Even one time I was invited to the Vatican, and I walk between them really with humble heart, but really proud, because everybody, wow, he's from Bethlehem. He's the parish priest from Bethlehem. So it's very nice, especially I did not have this honor to be born here. I'm from Jordan. But it's really nice and blessing things here. But here to be priest is not only do pastoral activities. I'm priest for sacraments, but also I'm taking care of social, like social worker, and we try to make some projects to help the Christian. So it's many things to be busy about here, the priest, even if I have the parish council with me. So it's really very busy day. Every day is very busy day.
Yeah, gosh, yeah, thank you. Is Jack?
Thank God I have friends. I have friends like Jack. Joyce is. I always tell them that she is with Selena is my daughters. So I am happy with them. That's it. This is nice. We have very nice families around us that encourage. We need to be together, united, to face this is a bad situation.
Well, Father Rami, thank you. You will be in our prayers, and your church and your parishioners. It's lovely to be able to meet you. Thank you so much for talking to us. Is Jack there with you?
Yes. Thank you all, and we keep praying for you from this holy place. God bless you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank
you, Father Rami. And now I am back with you. As you can see, we are church. This is the Casanova. It's the Franciscan pilgrim house. You can see even it is closed. Even they have a nice, garden to sit and have lunch with it. But now it's closed.
Right. And Jack, when we're looking at the Church of the Nativity, this is your family church, yes?
Yes, this is my family church. You can see here, this is the Greek Armenian Orthodox tower. This is the Greek platform, and behind is the Greek Orthodox and the Catholic. Franciscans have the family chronology for the last 800 years, very accurate in the names of my grandfather. And this is the place. I have a picture for my grandfather at the entrance of this door, my father, and me when I got married. And this is the place where I get baptized, my daughter baptized, all the family, for hundreds of years.
So your family has been members of the Church of the Nativity for over 800 years. Is that right?
Yes, they are one of the family. My father's side is one of the families who came in the Crusaders period as stone builders, and they got married to a local Christian family who lived here hundreds of years before. So my mother almost from the third century living here. My family of my mother.
Jack, do you know that for many of us overseas in the UK and in the United States, when we hear about Palestinians who are Christians, we assume that they've converted recently from Islam, but your family.
No, this is wrong. This is wrong. We are the original of this land. We lived here before the Islam. We are the original Arab of the Middle East. Like the father, he's from Jordan. He is a journalist from Jordan, from the Arab Jordan community Christians who lived in Jordan before the Islam. So we are not converted from Islam. Some of the family maybe have Jewish origins that they lived here 2,000 years ago, but
we may have lost Jack. We'll see if we can get him back just to
always we are Christians. We are not converted. We are a Christian community in one day because of immigration. Now the people of Bethlehem, the Christians of Bethlehem in South America is almost 500,000 persons. 500,000 Christian Palestinian from Bethlehem living in Chile, Salvador, and Colombia.
Gosh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. I can hear you now. We can hear you. So you have lost 500,000 Christian people from Bethlehem who've gone overseas. Yes.
Sorry.
You've lost over 500,000 Christians from Bethlehem who are now living overseas.
Only in South America. Only in South America. In the other world, it's much more. There is another 100,000 in North America and Europe.
Gosh. And why are so many Christians leaving Bethlehem and Palestine? It sounds...
the immigration started during the British, during the Ottoman Empire. We were under Turkey occupation until the year 1917. And this time, before that time, the people used to have very hard life economically, that the big wave of immigration started to go to South America. And then we have the British mandate, the immigration still continued. Then we have the Jordanian, then the Israeli occupation. So the country was always in conflict that pushed all the economic situation, pushed the people for immigration. It never stable during the last 400 years.
Gosh, wow. So as we come to the end of our time, Jack, I wanted first of all, obviously, to say thank you so much for spending time with us, and also to ask you as we go, you know, we've come on our virtual pilgrimage. What are the things that you would like us particularly to think about and to pray about for you and the situation there?
You know, what we need is what you are doing now. You are remembering us. You are communicating with us. This is the most important. Not always only, you know, economic. It also, you can feel that there is brothers, hundreds of thousands of kilometers thinking about us. This is a big, and what we need is a prayer that this situation finished soon.
Right, and by this situation we mean COVID and the occupation and everything.
All these, yes, all these, may God move them away from our people.
Right. Well, go with our blessings, and it's been a blessing. You've been a blessing to us tonight.
Thank you very much.
We're all going to wave, Jack. God bless you.
Thank you, and see you next year in Bethlehem.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What a gift to be able to share with them this evening. Yeah, thank you, Father Rami and Jack and Joyce. I think as we, there's so much to reflect on as global citizens experiencing a global pandemic, but experience it in different ways, in different contexts, and as trying to discern what God is calling us to do and to be in that space. But now we're going to have a change of pace. We're going to cross to Jenny's kitchen and we're going to see a Palestinian dish being created.
Am I unmuted? Yes, I am.
Hello and welcome to my cooking session. I was asked if I would demonstrate cooking a Palestinian dish. FUKHARA is a Palestinian clay pot used to cook stews. Now I don't have a FUKHARA, I don't even have a tagine, but I have a humble casserole. And so we're going to make it FUKHARA, vegetable FUKHARA in my humble casserole. Ideally, we get hold of all fair trade items, and our olive oil ideally comes from Zaytoun or Sindiana. Sindiana is a cooperative that we visited when we were in Palestine last year, and I bought my t-shirt there, and it supports women and brings together both Arab and Jewish women to work together to produce olive oil and other products. So we have olive oil, feta cheese, parsley, rosemary, butternut squash, onion, courgettes, garlic, pine nuts. And what we're going to do is we're going to put all of that together in this dish and bake it for 3 hours. It's quite straightforward. What we do is we cut the butternut squash and we go to the courgette, and this one we slice lengthways. When we were in Palestine, we ate the most amazing food. We were fed fabulously every day. And in fact, some days we were fed, we were given food, and we realised that we thought it was the main course, sorry, and we realised actually when the next lot of food was brought in, it was actually our starter. So we were just fed like absolute kings, and the food was beautifully cooked, produced, amazing. So we've got the red onion, which we cut into pieces, again saving some of it for after, and then we have 2 garlic cloves, roughly chopped. We don't need to be too fussy about them. Probably better to get a smaller knife at this point. And then a sprig of rosemary. The rosemary, a lovely symbol of love. And then we chop up the parsley, sprinkle it over, and then we get pine nuts, and we sprinkle pine nuts on this too. We have some feta cheese, which I'm assuming, bearing in mind I have washed my hands before this, we crumble the feta cheese. So I'm now going to do some salt and pepper. Always good when you've planned ahead, isn't it, really? Salt and pepper to season, and then olive oil, 50 millilitres of olive oil, drizzle the olive oil on. As I said, we went to Sindiana. Sindiana makes fair trade olive oil, or you can buy it in UK from Zaytoun, and then you just do the same again. And then what I'm going to do is put this in the oven at 150 degrees for 3 hours, and we'll look at it when it finishes. I've got some giant couscous here, and we'll make this called maftool, and we will serve maftool with our FUKHARA, and we'll have an amazing Palestinian meal that I can eat and you can enjoy watching me. Welcome back. It's now 3 hours and 5 minutes since this went in the oven, and I'm going to get the FUKHARA, the vegetable FUKHARA, out of the oven, and we'll show you what it looks like. Our Palestinian dish. I'm quite pleased with myself actually for that. That's not bad. And let's see how it goes. 3 hours in the oven. Let's see how it works. Oh, actually, that is really delicious. What a lovely taste. So, vegetable FUKHARA. Enjoy.
This is where we really wish we'd had our dinner before coming online. The food really was amazing on the trip. I would definitely recommend exploring Palestinian cuisine. And what we heard while we were out there was that having that strong food heritage was actually a really key part of cultural identity. And it has been a way of helping Palestinian identity be known beyond the Middle East in a more safe way that feels less political. People feel that they can, approach it and explore it. And our family are definitely converts to Palestinian food. Now what we're going to do is move to some of the people on the call this evening who were on last year's trip. And we're going to ask them to share what we're calling their pilgrim moments perhaps of enlightenment, of revelation, of a new perspective that enriched or challenged them on the visit. And of course, there were many that happened. And if you are thinking yourself of going on a physical pilgrimage to Israel, Palestine, when it's possible again, we'd like to point you to a film which was part funded by the URC, which explores important issues for Christians engaging with the Holy Land. We'll pop a link in the chat in a second, and we'll let you have it at the end of the evening, but that's another resource that's well worth taking a look at. So I'm going to start with my pilgrim moment, and then we're going to come to other people, as I say, who are on the trip. And one of the moments for me was on the very first night. After dinner, some of us walked into the centre of Bethlehem, and there I am. It was a balmy evening, just like you might experience on holiday in Spain, that sense of warmth. And we walked to Manger Square, and I was slightly disbelieving as I took this shot that actually the Church of the Nativity was behind me. But that wasn't my sort of pinch me moment of the evening. It was a realization that I was in the West Bank and I felt absolutely safe. And I realized that wasn't something I'd expected. Before I went, friends had said to me, oh, be careful out there, you're going to the West Bank. I really wasn't prepared to find it a place of such welcome. And I have traveled, a reasonable amount. And I think I hope I can discern between when there's a false, that sense of we want your money as a tourist and we're not really interested in you. It felt completely different to that. And you probably got a glimpse of it just then when Jack talked about what they wanted, what their prayer was to be and what we could do. And it was that sense of they want connection. And I really felt that it was like a human to human welcome, not overwhelming, not cynical, but genuine respect and warmth. And that blew me away because given the world's inaction on the occupied territories, you might expect a different response. And it was a humbling moment. I realized that some of my preconceptions were going to be dismantled. And then it was going to be a journey of unlearning as well as learning. We had left behind at that point, Britain and England, very, very divided, a toxic time in our history, of course, around the Brexit debate. And there was no real evidence of grace in our social media feeds, on the news, even in conversations with friends. And yet here were people who had reason enough to other us, and they didn't. And it reminded me never to impose our cultural norms on situations in other parts of the world, because thank goodness people in different parts of the world can have different responses. And in terms of my faith, it gave me a whole new meaning on loving your neighbour, which I'm sure I will never forget. And there's some of our party in Manger Square. So that was my moment. I don't know if anyone in the group has any reflections on that. Anyone would like to share anything? Otherwise, we can move to Philip, who is going to give his pilgrim moment next.
Thank you, Claire. And I'm hoping that Lawrence has got some continuation of pictures as I share my pilgrim moment. Well, hopefully they'll appear shortly. But we've mentioned the wall quite a few times this evening. And certainly when you go to the region, then the wall is an absolute scar on the landscape. But it does also demonstrate another aspect of the Palestinian people, because it shows their resilience, their humour, and a lot of that is personified in the walled-off hotel there, which is about a mile away from Bethlehem Square. And you can just about see on the right-hand side of the picture how it is dwarfed by the separation barrier. And if you go to the region, then the Waldorf is definitely the place to visit. It's got great satire. It's set out as a colonial hotel inside, and a superb and very thought-provoking museum. But in terms of the kind of humour that bounces off that, because that's Banksy's hotel, of course, the humour that bounces off that kind of thing is the next slide, which if you just look carefully, you can see that there's me actually sat halfway up the wall. And in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture, you can see a set of step ladders. And actually where those step ladders are, it's a really busy road. So you kind of take your life in your hands to climb up those step ladders. But there set out is a table and chairs. So people can take the kind of photo opportunity that I did. And that lovely blend of art and satire. That slogan, "Make hummus, not walls," is a lovely lovely phrase. And I'm just going to finish my reflection on the wall with just those words which are depicted on the wall there from Nelson Mandela, which really sum up the situation. So that's my I could have shown you a lot more pictures of the wall and a lot more of the satire and the superb artwork, but I just picked that one for this evening.
I wonder if anyone else on the trip wanted to reflect on their experience of the wall, seeing it for the first time, being near it.
My guess is a lot of our team has got a camera, got a phone full of pictures going along the wall.
We weren't sure if that was Morgan Freeman or Nelson Mandela, though, were we? We kind of we thought the likeness was not the best one.
It was actually Morgan Freeman playing Nelson Mandela in the film that they put on. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, who have we got next? I think we've got Jenny next, haven't we, Jenny, to share your pilgrim moment?
I think, well, my pilgrim moment starts in Jerusalem on the Mount of Olives. And like all of us, we've heard stories of what in our Bible, and you kind of have this idea of what the Mount of Olives is, and then you have this idea of what Jerusalem is. So this was up at the top of the Mount of Olives. It was looking down on the Kidron Valley, and you can see there were graves in front of us, and there are certain spaces for Muslim graves, Jewish graves, Christian graves, and they've all got they're all in different places. But you can, what I was most surprised by was the Mount of Olives. The road went down from the Mount of Olives down to the Kidron Valley, and then back up to the Temple Mount. Now, I, at that point, had my really bad arthritic knees, and we were okay going up hills, but going down was a bit hairy. And luckily, as you walk down, you go down the Mount of Olives all the way down the hill. And I think in a minute, there'll be a photo of us. Here we go, going down this road. And there's even a rope to hold on to. My knees were really screaming at this point. And I think on the day we did this, I think we actually hit about 22,000 steps. So it was quite exhausting at times. We walked down there, and at the bottom, we went to the Garden of Gethsemane, which just, again, to see those places blew your mind. And then we started to go up again, and this photo was going up from Garden of Gethsemane up towards the Temple Mount. And then you went right up the hill again to one of the gates into Jerusalem. And I was a lot better walking up the hill, I have to say. But just being able to walk in the footsteps the disciples, and so this was going back up the hill. Fortunately, as we came, this is looking down, and we managed to find a stall that sold sweets at the top, which was obviously quite a blessing. Having been exhausted, it was really hot, and it was just fascinating. But to have followed in their footsteps, to go through the gate that Jesus and his friends had gone to begin to get my head round that actual pilgrimage, and to understand how it felt for all the people then, but equally all the people now, because sadly, so much has not changed. It is still a place where there's division and just mind-blowing. I had to kind of pinch myself, but it was just a phenomenal time.
Diana, I was wondering if you, as an Old Testament scholar, had any thoughts when you did that journey with Jenny, if you had any insights on how that felt for you.
Yeah, it was quite something. Jerusalem was the place out of all of the trips that I was most looking forward to, as it's so much has happened throughout history in Jerusalem, and I was really drawn to it. And actually, my pilgrim moment is quite similar in terms of walking the footsteps. Because my moment was actually a year ago today. So it was the 22nd of September, 2019, it was Sunday. And on the Saturday evening beforehand, we had been told we were going to be getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I think we have a beautiful photo of the former moderator of the URC being told the time we would be getting up. Do we have that, Lawrence?
Oops, yeah, hang on. Whoop.
It's worth waiting for.
It's coming. Here it is.
So yes, we were told that we were getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to Temple Mount. And so we got up in the dark in Jerusalem. We walked through the city, and then you can see this beautiful sculpture. That was probably about 5:30 by that point. And then we got to Temple Mount on this Sunday morning, and we watched the sunrise up over Temple Mount. And maybe as well because it was a Sunday morning, there was this very deep sense of being where Jesus was, being where thousands of years of Jews and of Christians and of Muslims have been. And then we went up onto the Temple Mount. I had my very nerdy Old Testament freak out there that I was so excited. And you can walk around, it's this massive, massive plateau. And even though the only part of the temple that is now supposed to be left is the Wailing Wall, wherever you go, you can think, actually, Jesus would have prayed here, Jesus would have worshipped here. And also you can see in the background the Dome of the Rock, this beautiful, iconic gold roof mosque. And when you get up close, there are these incredible Arabic motifs and Islamic artwork. And it is a deeply, deeply spiritual place for all three of the Abrahamic religions. And it is so, so special to be there.
I wonder if there are any specific learnings that you took from it, Diana, that being there, that has changed your perspective now you're back, maybe it's experiencing Easter or whatever it may be. What do you think will stay with you?
I think the bit that will really stay with me is more so actually in Bethlehem, when you're talking about Christian festivals, that so often we think of the beautiful nativity and the shepherds and the angels. But then when you see Bethlehem, and it's very real, it's very human, it's both so broken and so alive. And that just sums up for me what Christianity has always been about. It is about both brokenness and being alive.
I think what was so amazing in our pilgrimage was you journeyed from something so deeply, profoundly poignant to something that felt, you know, we went from the church in Nazareth, the church to walking along to a McDonald's, to then driving through Cana, where they were selling Cana wine. And so you had this deeply profound moments. We stood in the Sea of Galilee, and then you had this sort of everyday life comes and hits you in the face. And we'd then go for a drink on this rooftop bar, and it was a constant assailing on your senses and your understanding of life. And it was that depth of deeply spiritual moments, and then thin moments where you were so close to God, and then the sort of reality of life, talking to some of the waiters, about how they actually lived their life. It was just life-changing, wasn't it?
So talking of everyday moments, Jenny, have your knees recovered?
They have recovered, actually. I also found out doing exercises helps them too. So, but coming back from Palestine, having walked something like 35 miles or something, I realized that if you exercise more, your knees get better. So I am doing much better. Thank you.
That was the memory of Old Jerusalem, a lot of steps.
I wonder whether we could just go through the team now, the people who were there, and anyone else who hasn't spoken from the team who hasn't actually had a chance to give a pilgrim moment. Just to say briefly, Jenny talked about thin moments where we felt perhaps closest to God. Anyone got those? Any of those that they'd like to share? I can go first. I know mine was at Magdala, at the ruins that had only been discovered in the last 10 years or so, I forget now, of an ancient synagogue, and to actually think that Jesus may have walked around here, that felt very close for me. And it was better in a way because it was quite a low-key ruin rather than a big built-up glorious chapel or whatever it may be. It was relatively pared back, and so that then, and having the lake, the Sea of Galilee there, perhaps that was my moment of being overwhelmed.
And not far from there, we went to the museum where they'd recently uncovered a fishing boat which dated from Jesus's time, and to see the quite well preserved ruins of that boat. And just think, well, actually, that's a boat that Jesus could have looked at as he walked by the Sea of Galilee. That felt another thin moment. The Sea of Galilee was a very special place to be, very calming. But we have got quite a few others, because we've got Ray tonight, and we've got Richard and Fliss. There's quite a few of the team, and Branwyn and Alistair, and I'm sure there are others. So it's been a kind of credit to the effect that the visit had on everybody, that we've been a very cohesive group since.
Yeah. I shared a room with Diana, and I remember my moment is on the first night we were in Bethlehem, and we had a balcony and the sun was setting, and we went out onto the balcony and the sun was setting over Bethlehem, and there was a call to prayer, and I just looked at Diana and said, "Can you believe we're here in Bethlehem?" And I just felt so lucky, and it was just such a wonderful experience. It's something, I don't know what Diana thought, but it's something I'll never forget. It was just wonderful. Yeah, brilliant.
And it was wonderful on that night when we were standing on the balcony, as we were standing outside looking at Bethlehem and saying, "This is so amazing." The Islamic call to prayer started.
Yeah.
So all through the city, there were these loudspeakers with the music coming through, which just gives you such a sense that you never really get something like that in the UK. You never get that feeling of collective worship, and that people are coming together all around you. It's beautiful.
I had a very different experience I'd like to share. It wasn't so much the thin moments, but moments of real engagement with Jesus and what Jesus was about, and that was at Hebron and Yad Vashem, and actually those were about a palpable sense of evil. You read the gospel stories, and there's all the stuff about the demons and Satan, and for Jesus, clearly all of this was mixed up, you know, with Roman occupation. So the Roman occupying forces were like the occupying demons. He didn't see those kinds of distinctions between stuff that was spiritually either wonderful or very, very nasty, and what was going on in people's lives. And as we were walking around Hebron, I don't know about the rest of you, but it was a terrifying place because of the way in which the settlers were occupying it, and they were helped by the army, and the appalling conditions under which the Palestinians lived. That was terrible. And likewise going to Yad Vashem and being immersed in that whole history, and it said something ironically really important to me, which was good in terms of good news, which is that we're here in Bethlehem, and Jesus is God coming to live amongst us and dealing with all that awfulness. You know, God does. There isn't stuff that's too big or too awful or too frightening for God. And to me, ironically, it was a thin moment, although it was a really awful moment.
Thank you, Lance. And Yad Vashem, for those people who don't know, is the Jewish Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem. Now, Tracy, you had your hand up. Did you want to come in?
I think I just wanted to say one of the, like Lawrence, for me, some of the thin moments were about the most painful moments. And the memory that came to my mind when you know, I hadn't prepared this, but when we came back to Jerusalem one day and we got off our bus just near the city gate, and as we were talking about what we were going to do next, and I think we were just going to go into the old city for something, but a Land Rover of young Israeli soldiers arrived, and they got out of their Land Rover and they were arming up, and they literally were putting on automatic rifles, ammunition, bulletproof vests and things, and these were teenagers. And it really brought home to me how, yes, you've got all this beautiful place and these amazing opportunities for deep spirituality, and yet there's this deep scar, this pain, and yet the Palestinians are the victims of the occupation, but the Israelis are also deeply scarred and changed by it, and it's a very militarized community. And I think, you know, in those tensions, you know, to say this is the city of, you know, of the presence of God, it was, you know, profoundly powerful.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Now, as we move from that moment of quite deep reflection, we're going to move to Fliss, who's going to spread the joy with one or two giveaways. Fliss, over to you.
See, this is the moment that you've all been waiting for, really. So we have decided to do a giveaway of some of the different items that we saw on our trip and that we got to taste and we got to experience and we got to buy ourselves. So I've been collecting some things. So we've chosen two people at random, which I will announce in a minute. And we have two boxes with my glamorous assistant here. The first box, we have some olive wood hands. Okay, so we've heard Jack talk a bit about the olive wood and how, you know, important it is and how precious it is. So we're going to send you some olive wood hands. And we also have in the same box, we have some embroidered coasters. And we actually saw these in the market at Hebron that we went to. And the Women's Project were working in the market there. And by making coasters, it gives them a means of sustainable income. So they were making these and selling them in the market. So we have two coasters and some olive wood hands in box 1. And in box 2, we have, now Jenny's already mentioned briefly a bit about Cindiana, which was the cooperative that we went to. And we have some soaps, I don't know if you can see very well, from Cindiana. It's all fair trade. and we have 3 different bottles of olive oil. So we have extra hopeful olive oil, and we have extra unified olive, and we have extra peaceful olive oil as well. And Sindiana was the most amazing place. We got to taste the olive oil, we got to experience, and we got to see the women working there. It's amazing. It's run by a team of Arab and Jewish women who work to create social change from the ground up. And by making those products, it gives them a job, it gives them purpose, and they work together, they learn from each other, and it was really special. So in box 2, you will receive some olive oil and some soaps. We've chosen 2 people at random, and they are Linda Rayner and John Holton. So if Linda and John, can you private message me your address, and I will post them out to you tomorrow, and you will receive those in the post. So well done, yay. So I hope you enjoy them, because we certainly did, and we've all taken olive wood home, and I've got some coasters myself, and I think everybody bought some olive oil. So we hope you enjoy it as much as we did. Thank you.
Thank you, Fliss. Congratulations, Linda and John. Now, as it's been so whistle-stop this evening, we have put a sheet together, a souvenir, if you like, to take home with some details in it of a link to Jenny's recipe and a link to the pilgrimage film that I mentioned briefly, and that's going to be available in the chat. You can also get a copy by emailing Carol Syred in the URC's Ecumenical and Faith team. That's carol.syred@urc.org.uk. Now, some of you will already have a huge understanding about West Bank, and that's perhaps come in part through some of you being in churches that are members of church members that support of churches that support Commitment for Life program, which I'm sure many of you know works with Christian Aid to support communities in the occupied Palestinian territories and Israel. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your support, for your prayers and your solidarity. And we heard that very poignantly from Jack this evening, how important it is to know that they are not forgotten. And of course, the Palestinians are by and large people who are simply not heard in this world. Now, any donations given this evening that you would like to do, and as I said before, there's no compulsion whatsoever, they can be made through Commitment for Life by being labelled as IOPT, as in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories. And then those donations will be ring-fenced, they can stay in a separate fund, and the Commitment for Life's reference group will then decide where to give that to in a grant form to meet the need in the region. So we have, hopefully, I just wasn't looking then, they perhaps popped up on the chat. I know Kevin did put them in there earlier, and they will be on that sheet too. So we're now going to bring this particular trip to a close, but I hope it won't be the end of the journey. We're going to come to a close by listening to the Arabic version of the song The Blessing, which may have blessed you this year. It was released through an answer to prayer, people very inspired by scripture in America, and they wrote this song, which has gone right across the world and has brought Christians together, singing it together and singing God's blessing. It's based on the Aaronic blessing, and we wish you all now a safe onward journey. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Thank you, everyone, and good night. I don't know whether anyone wants to quickly speak and wave to one another, but if not, then go well and be in touch.
God bless. Thank you. Thank you for
God
hosting.
bless. Thank you, everyone.
Really grateful to everybody who came tonight. It's been wonderful.
Derek, before you go, you realise this is all your fault.
Unmute. I'm absolutely gobsmacked by the whole thing. It's absolutely wonderful, really, really wonderful that the thing has taken hold in such a fantastic way. And I was trying to think of a wonderful moment when you were all speaking, but the whole thing was so wonderful, it's difficult to pick something out. But the thing that stuck with me was the way that Jack so wonderfully welcomed us. And when he told us the story, you remember about him having to go down on bed and knead almost to get into his plot of trees, and then was left there for hours and hours. I thought that was dreadful. But thank you all so much. It's a wonderful occasion. You really set the bar high. I'm not sure how we can do the next one even better, but wonderful. Thank you so much.
Very, very good.
We're so blessed to have Munster and Jack with us, I think, Derek, and you know, those that came about because of your vision, you know, the whole trip. So thank you for your part in it.
Well, you're very generous. There are many, many people who've made that happen. I was very happy to go along and be with you and take part in it, but thank you, everybody.
You were Mr. Energy. You were like the flipping Duracell bunny, you were. You never stopped.
Yeah.
Even when we were flagged, when my knees were
like 20,000.
Well, I think that picture of me pulling a face will go down in history, I think.
I don't know who thought of putting that on tonight.
I just want to say that I'm going to end the live stream now. So I just want to say that for the live stream to know that I'm ending it, but you can stay, okay?
Okay.
I have to go. I've got a CRCW meeting, but I will see you all soon. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Flace.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
The live stream